So you've started law school, you think you understand what's happening here, you're excited, but do you really know how the exams work? This is one of the big questions I hear from students who I've worked with over the years. They start law school, they think they have an understanding as to what to expect, but they really kind of don't. In this video, I'm going to be talking about law school exams, what you need to know, what you don't know, and how you can best prepare yourself for law school exam season. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more of these videos. Be sure to check us out at barcastaudio.com. Whether you're in law school, thinking about going to law school, or preparing for the bar exam, we have law school prep courses, we have one-on-one tutoring, we have bar exam courses. We have everything you could possibly need to pass the bar exam over at barcastaudio.com. So law school started, maybe you're finishing your first semester, your first year, maybe you're just getting started. Do you actually have an understanding as to what's involved with law school exams? Because let me explain something to you. Maybe you're not even in law school yet, but not many people understand that law school exams work unlike exams in almost any other area of education. Law school exams, for the most part, make up 100% of your grade in a course. I know there are professors who say, well, you know, participation matters as well. And listen, most of them, it probably does matter to some degree. Unfortunately, the result of that very often is students raising their hands for no reason and attempting to participate in a way that I don't think is conducive to success. For the most part, the exam is all that matters. And that is a cultural shock and a cultural adjustment for most students, I find, in law school, because they're used to being able to kind of build their way throughout the course of the semester into a student who they sort of understand themselves to be. Maybe they've done well their whole lives, but they don't do well initially because they don't appreciate just how important law school exams are. If you have a bad day on exam day, you are done, you're toast, and you put yourself in a bad situation, maybe from a scholarship perspective or from a future employment prospect perspective. So what can you do to prepare for that? As I said, law school exams are often 100% of your grade. So everything you need to do throughout the semester needs to prepare you for those exams. And what does not prepare you for those exams? Very often, spending a lot of time briefing cases does not prepare you for law school exams. Now, listen, for some students, that process of briefing cases allows them to better understand the material as they're moving through the semester. And more power to them. Kudos to those students. That's not what I found. That's not what I find with my students that I work with. I don't think it's a good use of your time, frankly. I think that what prepares you for the exam is high-level synthesis of the material that you're taking in throughout the course of the semester. And what do I mean by high-level synthesis? We talk about the idea of outlining a lot. Outlining is this big word in law school that probably none of you even thought about or heard about before law school. And it's this idea of taking all your notes throughout the course of the semester and putting together an outline of all the subjects and all the rules and all the cases that you talked about. And to me, that is obviously the core of how you prepare for any law school exam. And the way that you do that from the jump is that you try to maximize your time and you try to be intentional with the way you're taking notes and the way that you're synthesizing your notes at the end of the week. And how can you be intentional by that? First of all, not everyone's going to be great note takers. So maybe you have to step outside your comfort zone and connect with your fellow classmates or connect with some older students who may have had this professor. See if you can get an older outline. See if you can get another student's notes. And try at the end of each week, I recommend, to get a sense of what you learned about that week in law school. It's very easy to have this sort of snowball of information throughout the course of your first semester or your second semester or wherever you are in your law school process. And have that snowball build over the course of the semester without you even knowing about it, without you even realizing. This snowball is all the information you're not necessarily picking up as you are going through class, as you are trying to survive cold calls. Everyone's always worried about cold calls, but they don't matter so much. If you completely whiff on a cold call, it's just part of the law school process. Just, eat it and move on and understand that on the final, that's going to be your opportunity to make up for this. I know there are some professors who, I guess, are tougher with the idea of these cold calls, but I think they are devaluing what is really the most important part of this whole process. And it's where they see your demonstration of the material. And that is this anonymously graded exam that comes at the end of the semester. That's where you get to showcase what you know and how you know it. And the way that you do that is by being very intentional throughout the course of the semester in how you're building your outline and how you're committing this stuff to memory. If you're somebody who has flashcards, that's something that's worked for you in the past, I recommend that you do something with your notes every week, every month. Try to make flashcards with the rules, with the cases, so that you have an appreciation for where these cases fit into each other. One thing that worked really well for me within law school was the idea of like flow sheets, which sound weird, but they're flow sheets essentially, where if you get into an area of the law, hey, this is the rule here, this is the case that applies to either side of that rule. If this, then this. And that helped me sort of visualize the law itself and the nuances of the law. And by visualizing those nuances, by visualizing how the gray areas of a particular statute could be interpreted by two different cases, and memorizing the names of those cases and understanding where those cases fit into the larger text of the semester, that's how I was able to become a better student, and that's how I was able to score well on my exams. Only by doing that, only by being intentional, do you really prepare yourself for that big exam day at the end of the semester. I want to focus on this idea as we think about final exams, as we think about law school final exams. This idea of getting to maybe. There's a big book that everyone's read. It's a big famous law school book about getting to maybe and how important it is in your legal writing. And that is important. But what that book really is teaching you, if I could synthesize it to some degree, it's that the way that you demonstrate a comprehension, a mastery of material in law school is by showing a rule, like demonstrating a rule, and then applying that rule to a series of facts, a hypothetical. And very often, the way that you're applying that rule is not going to be contained within the law itself. It's going to be contained within how prior cases have interpreted that law. And the way that you really demonstrate that mastery and get the most points on an exam is by saying something like, the facts of this hypothetical in many ways mirror the facts of X case in which blank, blank, blank. And unlike case Y, the facts of this case are dissimilar in that blank, blank, blank. And therefore, your ultimate conclusion. So the way that you maximize those points, the way that you demonstrate that mastery is by having a grip of the cases and the law. And the cases themselves are going to reveal the nuances of the law and how one rule could give rise to two differing ways of interpreting the law. And you're going to, I guess, get to maybe in the middle and reach a conclusion. Ultimately, your conclusion doesn't matter as much as does your ability to demonstrate to an exam giver, a tester or professor, that you understand how it could go both ways based on the facts, based on prior case interpretation. So you're going to learn about a lot of cases. You're going to do a lot of reading. It can be difficult to see the forest for the trees throughout this process. But you have to understand that cold calls don't matter so much. You have to understand that you need to be intentional throughout the semester in how you're preparing for final exams. You have to understand that your priority should always be the final, and you have to understand that the way in which you demonstrate your mastery on the final exam is not just knowing the law, not just memorizing that, but understanding the nuances. And one thing I want to say here, and I want to really emphasize this before I go, the best way to prepare for exams is to do practice exams. Now, most professors are going to have prior practice exams available to you, but you should do everything in your power to take those exams, to find your professor's prior old exams, and to do them under time conditions, and to try to understand what they're looking for and what is important to them. By doing those prior exams, they are the most powerful tool available to you because they will see and showcase what professors are interested in within the context of your course. And very often, professors are interested in sort of the same thing over and over again. So do what you can to prepare yourself for that. Do what you can to prepare yourself to score well in your final exam and to put yourself in a good position to have a great GPA at the end of the semester, to get better job opportunities, to have options at the end of your time in law school. And that all begins with understanding how law school exams work. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more of these videos. Be sure to check us out at barcastaudio.com. If you're looking for tutoring, if you're looking for one-on-one sessions, check us out over at barcastaudio.com. I'll leave my email within the info below. If you're taking the bar exam, we have everything there for you. Everything you need to succeed in law school and after law school and taking the bar exam. So until later, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye now.